I'm Sean McCormick, and this is Optimal Performance.
When we drink this water, it has a profound influence on our overall health and wellness. We tested it on humans, animals, and plants, and results were always remarkable. And now we're actually doing double-blind, placebo-controlled ATP human study, where we are measuring the rise of mitochondrial energy in people drinking this water. Regular water has electric potential between 150 and 300 millivolts. When you swirl the analemma through the water, it jumps immediately by 300%.
Okay, are you fully ready to have your mind blown? This is one of those podcast episodes that is going to absolutely shock you. That is Mario Brainovich, and he's the CEO of Analemma Water. You may have heard of the term structured water. Basically, the big idea is that the water that we drink is dead. It's lifeless. It's not coherent. It's not structured. It gets banged around. It sits for too long. And when you swirl any sort of water that you drink with this Analemma wand, which is a crystalline tube that has mother water that is highly charged and coherent, it will charge up your water. It will bring coherence back to your water. The studies are incredible. We walk through a bunch of them, and I ask hard questions. How does this work? How does the water in the tube bring coherence to the water in my glass of water? How long does it last? Does this really work? What's this based on? And he answers every single question with the utmost confidence, backed by great science. I'm telling you, this is an insane episode. You can go to coherent-water.com and use the code OPP for 10% off. I'm all about this. I'm all about this technology. I'm crazy about my water. I haven't drank tap water in over 15 years. This episode is going to blow your friggin' mind. Please share this with your friends. Again, use that code OPP at coherent-water.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Mario Brainovich from Analemma Water. And I'm here with Mario Brainovich. He's the CEO of Analemma Water. Mario, welcome to the Optimal Performance Podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to talk because I think about water a lot. My family has not drank tap water. We've not used tap water to cook for over a decade. We've been gathering water from a primary water source at a spring in Carboys, and so I thought I was obsessive about water quality. I think that you are probably way more obsessive than I am about water quality. So maybe if you could just give this is not a fair question, but it's a fun place to start. If you could explain what Analemma Water is, or what the wands do to an intelligent third grader, how would you explain that?
That will be kind of difficult, but I'm going to give it a go.
Good.
So, due to various environmental reasons, let's call it that way, H2O molecules in drinking water behave chaotically. They crash into each other constantly, and all of this is happening on an atomic level, so we're completely unaware of it. There is a way to bring order back into this chaos. So when you swirl the analemma device through the water, or tool, or wand, however we want to call it, what happens is that those same H2O molecules start to form a liquid crystalline structure. They start to behave harmonically. Colloquially speaking, they join hands. And then extraordinary power of water, what actually the power of water is being unleashed. When we drink this water, it has a profound influence on our overall health and wellness. We tested it on humans, animals, and plants, and results were always remarkable. This is, which is actually totally interesting. Not a lot of people are aware that 99% of our molecules are actually water. We're 70% water in mass, but 99 in molecules. So that off the bat tells you there is something extraordinarily important about water. We're basically very clever H2O. Mm-hmm. And it's also interesting that H2O molecules in our body are in coherent state. But when we drink chaotic water, our body needs to spend energy. It needs to bring it to that state. So it actually, it becomes that way in our body. But when you drink coherent water, when you drink the water in that particular state, body has loads of energy to treat and handle all of whatever happens in the body. It has much, much, much more energy.
That well done. I think the third grader in me was like, cool, I can dig that. I can follow that.
Thank you. You know, it's kind of a complex thing, but when you go a little bit into it, it really is an intuitive, very intuitive thing.
Yeah. So I had not thought about the fact that our body has a way of making that water coherent. It makes sense, right? Our body in its brilliant homeostasis knows how to fix things, how to organize things, how to use things. And so I hadn't thought about the fact that our body, if we're drinking puddle water or river water or distilled water, our body makes it coherent once it enters into us. But what you're saying is with the use of the device, even in the personalized version, it makes it coherent beforehand, before we drink it. I want to ask sort of the skeptical questions first because I want to get those out of the way, right?
Awesome. Awesome. Hit me.
So how is it possible? And to describe this device, we're talking about a crystal wand that is clear where you can see water in it, and you
Yes.
swirl a glass of water with this this looks like a glass tube, but it's a crystal tube that has water in it. How does the coherent water inside of the tube affect the water outside the tube in the glass of water?
It's an amazing question. And that's why analemma is so elegant, yet it's so powerful. So it takes what's the liquid inside the crystal vial is what we call the mother water. It takes 1 full year for us to create the mother water. Since water is broadband absorber, receiver, and transmitter of energy, it actually always follows the dominant frequency. We created extraordinarily powerful dominant frequency water. So we put it in the crystal vial. Crystal serves as a superconductor. It's there, but like it's not there. Whatever is inside, quote unquote, transmits that particular frequency. That's why any H2O molecule that comes into close proximity to it will start to mimic its exact structure.
So how does the water inside of the glass of water that I'm drinking, how is it affected? Again, in layman's terms, as much as you can, how does it know how to become coherent based on the swirling of the mother water inside the analemma device?
As I mentioned, it follows the dominant frequency. And the most dominant frequency is the mother water. And not only is it dominant, it actually remains. After we treated the water, we actually tried to push it into the chaos because there were several companies, several scientists on the planet that already kind of created some form of structured water. But according to our test, it loses structure, goes back into chaos between a couple of minutes and a day and a half. With just one swirl of analemma through the water, that same water will stay in that coherent state for years. We tested it now year by year. Now we're at 5. So, and not only we haven't even tested it, that it becomes even stronger in structure. So we definitely hypothesize that it will last forever. It's not losing its structure. That's why it's so special. And when you drink water as stable as this, your body becomes stable. There were scientists now that discovered, for a while now actually, that discovered that our DNA is being surrounded by highly structured H2O molecules. And when that structure gets broken, then we get ill. Which is really interesting. When you look at it. That's why we did this, we wanted to test we wanted to find a study which will definitively prove that there is something biological remarkable happening when people drink this water. So we came up to one of the most accurate health and wellness tests available. It's the glycan age. So they're measuring through various ways, through these proteins in blood called glycans, the biological age of your immune system, how old you actually are, in contrast to your chronological age. And a lot of people are actually much older than their biological age. So what we did a baseline test where we measured their biological age. Then people drank the water for 3 months without changing anything else in their life, without changing their exercise regime, without changing their diets. And then we did another test, and the results were really remarkable. It surprised even us. So we were talking about 1 to 12 years of biological age regeneration within almost every single individual. Their whole system got regenerated on a cellular level.
Today's episode is brought to you by Vitality Pro. They're a brand new sponsor, and I have done a massive deep dive into this company and the products that they provide. You see, aging is inevitable, right? It's going to happen to all of us. As we grow, our body demands more care to keep it healthy and fit. But are good diet and exercise always enough? We might often need to supplement our bodies with proper nutritional add-ons to help keep our energy up and make healthy aging a reality. However, can we trust the supplements sold with the correct information on what to take? Vitality Pro has followed the latest in longevity science to produce a range of premium quality nutritional supplements focused on improving cellular health, sleep, and energy levels. Made with the purest raw ingredients tested by trusted third-party labs with certificates available to view to provide you with trust and confidence in your supplements. Achieve maximum results. Why not choose Vitality Pro? Visit vitality-pro.com. Use code OPP for a sweet discount and peruse their lineup. We've got resveratrol, we've got berberine, we've got quercetin, we've got longvita curcumin. Awesome products. Go ahead and go to vitality-pro.com. For those of you that are not familiar or that missed that episode, you can go back to episode 360 with Gordon Lautz from Glycanage to do a deeper dive, to have some background information for what we're talking about, how we measure the sort of biological age.
Now, just to kind of go into a bit more into detail, we're now doing another Glycanage study, double-blind, placebo-controlled, just to reinforce those results. Also, we measured, this is actually the beginning of our, like we started this a couple of years back. We went into biophoton research. Our founders, Dr. Eric Larker and Dolph Zantinge, they actually took over the lab of Fritz Popp, the famous German scientist who developed this technique called, he could measure biophotons. So the measure vitality of all living systems. So what we did is we watered tomatoes with regular water and with analemma water. And the tomatoes watered with analemma water exuded 50% more light. They had 50% more energy than tomatoes watered with regular water. And now we're actually doing double-blind, placebo-controlled ATP human study, where we are measuring the rise of mitochondrial energy in people drinking this water. So we're really excited about the results, and those results are going to come out really soon, within a couple of weeks, and we plan to publish those results in hopefully tier 1 magazine. So we're really excited about it. There is another amazing study that we did, since the state of the soil on this planet is really in a bad shape, treated with all the pesticides and everything. So I don't know if you're aware, but spinach 15 or 20 years ago had 80% more nutrients than now. So if you're buying your regular spinach from, anywhere where you're buying it, if it's not organic or biodynamic, there is a very good chance that you would have to eat like 4 times as much just to get the same a level of nutrients. So it really is an alarming issue. So we took completely depleted, destroyed land with pesticides and everything was completely infertile. And one chunk we watered with regular water, and one chunk with analema water. And what happened is explosion in biodiversity of the microbiome of the soil. The energy of it exploded when you compare it to the same chunk that water with regular water. Now we are actually doing double-blind, placebo-controlled human microbiome study where we're measuring the biodiversity of the microbiome when people drink this water. So there's really something amazing happening when people drink this water. It's really remarkable. It's really remarkable.
Yeah. Oh, a little bit later in the episode, I want to talk about the implications of this and what this means for the planet, what this means for health and vitality across the globe for plants, animals, and humans. You know, I definitely want to go there a little bit later. And what's striking to me is the amount of research that's being done and how serious you are at showing the claims. And I think for the skeptical people in the room, you know, they want to see the data, they want to see the results, they want to look at they want to read the paper and so forth. So I want to go back just a little bit because I want to slowly kind of tease this apart a little bit.
I went kind of dived in.
Perfect. That's what we're here for. What are you doing to the mother water for a year before it makes it into the analema device? Like what is happening?
Well, to be honest, we decided that we are not going to. This is kind of a weird situation, but I'm going to.
It's IP. Is it IP? Kind of you want to protect that? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So but I can tell you that whole of nature works in cycles, and if you follow all the cycles to the one complete year, then you have, let's call it. You know how Nikola Tesla mentioned, like, if you want to know the secret of the universe, look into frequency, energy, and vibration. And when you have the whole spectrum, let's call it, of information, then you have something which is complete. That's why it tests the test of time. That's why we actually, you know, usually if you put water next to a router with like Wi-Fi or 5G, 4G, it will go directly into the chaos. So it's very easy to measure. And we really kind of tested our water. We wanted to push it into the chaos. We did crazy things with it. Even if it goes into chaos, which really, if you do something radical with it, it will. But in very, very, very short period of time, it goes back into the same crystalline structure. That's why it's so special.
In some of my research before our conversation today, I think a lot of people are familiar with the Dr. Masaru Emoto's water photography, right? I think a lot of people are familiar with this idea that if you talk meanly to water, if you call water bad names and you call it stupid and play death metal, and then you take a picture of it, it's going the actual crystals are going to look weird. They're going to look frantic and bizarre, and so I think a lot of people can kind of think of that visually. For visual learners, it's like, okay, well, water that's been mistreated and exposed to harmful EMF and death metal and bad words looks this way, versus water that was cared for and loved and played Beethoven looks different when you take a picture of it. And when I was doing some research, I came across just a really short video from Dr. Thomas Cowan where he talks about it and actually shows somebody took pictures of the analema water versus the sort of the control water. And the crystals look different. They look more cohesive, more coherent, more structured. I mean, essentially more beautiful. Maybe you can sort of elaborate a little bit on that to help people wrap their brain around it.
This is actually a very, very interesting question. Dr. Masaru Emoto is a pioneer. He was a pioneer of water. He actually was the first one that could explain the miracle of water to the wide audience. He actually explained to people, since 99% of our molecules of water, it actually explained if you treat people nicely, you're actually creating health in them. If you treat yourself nicely, you're creating joy, you're creating beauty, you're creating love. Water is spiritual. As I mentioned, it's broadband absorber, receiver, and transmitter of energy. It clearly showed that if you send out love, you are becoming the transmitter. Your entire being becomes it. That's why I love his research. He actually really kind of put water on the map, so to speak. And there is extraordinary magic. Even we did like a lot of research now. I'm telling you, we just scratched the surface of the magic the water is. So talking about crystals, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to observe when you have regular water and you just swirl the analemma through it, and you have this beautiful crystal appearing when you photograph. It just shows you that harmony happens. And when you drink this harmony, your body becomes harmonious. And not only that, I can tell you something which is really remarkable. How we realized that this water communicates. I'm going to go a bit further into, well, you can call it spirituality. You can call it the
esoteric, maybe.
Not even that. It's very, very, very scientific, but it opens why we are calling this water conscious water or aligned water. So what we did is actually we used seeds, okay? And we watered seeds with our water and with regular water. And then we also took the biophoton, did the biophoton research, and we see this sinusoidal movement. It was like, and the regular water, the seeds, water, regular water was flat. So we're like, okay, what's happening? What is this communication? What's happening there? And what we realized is that it followed the moon cycles. Just because we watered it with analemma water. Information system started working in a much more efficient way. That's when you drink this water, you can receive the electromagnetic, natural electromagnetic spectrum that you would be otherwise cut off. So you're literally in harmony with the universe, which is really interesting. It took us a while to realize what is happening with this. And we realized it was the moon cycle. It follows the tides.
How were you able to measure, like, how were you able to measure that it was following a moon cycle?
It has sinusoidal shape, like biophotons, higher energy, lower energy. When it's a low tide, it was a lower energy. When it was a high tide, it was a higher energy. And we realized it's the moon cycle.
Oh my gosh.
It was crazy. It was really kind of whoa.
How often is your mind blown during the work that you do at analemma? Is it every week? Is it once a week?
Gazillion. And I can tell you, I'm like, every single time we're doing fantastic, amazing research on plants with one molecular biologist. I mean, it's ridiculous. I can tell you, everybody can do this test. This is a very simple and extraordinary test. Everybody can do it at home if you own an analemma. So you take 2 basil plants, okay? And you water one basil plant because they grow fast, so you can in a fast manner, you can test. Water one with regular water and one with analemma water. And after, let's say, 3 weeks, you cut their water supply and increase the heat, like the stress factor. And after 2 days, the basil plant watered with regular water will completely shrivel down, and it will actually start to go black. And the one watered with analemma water will not show any sign of decay. Any. And that's very visual thing, if you know what I mean. If you have it side by side and you know which one you watered with, and we did repeated the test, and so it's extraordinary to see how it increases the resistance, the life force in the plant just by watering it with analemma water. What's also interesting is during the glycinate study, we told people in the study to always expose the analemma to the sun. It's not necessary, but we realized that water loves the sun. So we kind of told them just expose it to the sunlight. And this lady put it in the middle of her kind of, she has a very small kind of garden with short plants. She put it in exactly the same spot every day. And just like you made a circle after a month, the plants grew 1.5 inches higher than anywhere else in the small garden.
Around the device that was sitting in the garden?
Around the device that was sitting
Whoa.
in the. So I'm telling you, it's extraordinary, and we are being. You asked how we are getting surprised.
Yeah.
We are, and it's really kind of, even when kind of you always kind of get excited. That's why we're always now choosing new things. As I mentioned, we barely scratched the surface. So, and I mentioned this soil research. We found out that when there is explosion of biodiversity of microbiome of the soil, those bacteria start to suck CO2 out of the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be the elegant way to deal with the whole greenhouse gases issue that the planet has. I'm going wide. I'm
It's good.
sorry, but
No,
it really, there are so many kind of avenues of it, and we're trying to handle as much of it as possible. But let's keep it focused. I don't want to go into
well,
too wide.
no, I mean, it's great because examples like that and citing the studies and the things that you guys are doing is important to understand and to convey the importance of this, right?
Yes.
And I can come back and tease it apart and unpack it. I'm happy to do that. So don't worry about going too far too fast, because
And just so you know, we actually, because we are now aware of it, we feel that we are serving this water, not the other way around. Because we know that this water can change the world. We actually know it. It's
yeah.
not like, so we know that that's why our mission statement of our company is to make all bodies of water coherent. We already developed this technology which we can put at the wells of the biggest rivers. Then all the life down the line would thrive. And not only that, all that water, coherent water, would enter oceans. And then oceans would come coherent. And I'm telling you, it really can change this planet for the better.
When I think about health optimization devices, supplements, I think about these sorts of innovations that are sort of meta in their impact, right? I think about things that affect sleep. I think about things that shield us from harmful EMFs inside our homes. I think about soil quality, to your earlier point about the degradation of the soil on the planet. And to me, this checks that box for a fundamental device, a fundamental innovation that could have impact on every single thing that we do, because of the fact that we are water, and because of the fact that we cannot, we can't operate, we can't function without it. And obviously I've been paranoid about tap water for 15 years. To list off some of the stuff that's in water, like pharmaceuticals, non-pharmaceutical grade fluoride, chlorine, bromine, cocaine that your neighbor flushed down the toilet a month
Yeah.
ago. Like there's a bunch of gross stuff in there, pills that
Pills. Yeah.
that people flush down the toilet, that just ends up into our water system as they recycle it and treat it. And so you don't have to tell me how important it is to drink high quality water. And I've made this connection before, but I think that I'm a free thinking person, and I think that I owe a lot of my ability to think outside the box and to take chances and to innovate and grow myself and my spirituality and my family's health based on the fact that we just don't consume tap water and we shower with a filter so that we're just not getting it. And now to take that to the next level, not just primary water gathered at a spring like my family has been doing for, for 15 years, but now we're talking about something very simple that we can do to it in a very short period of time that will bring coherence back to it. Maybe walk people through how the device is used and how people can use it at home to bring coherence back to their water that they consume.
Okay, so as I mentioned, it's really elegant and simple to use. You just, for instance, you take 3 deciliters of water. I don't know how much is that in America.
I don't know there.
Okay, let's say a cup of water, okay? And you swirl for 15 minutes. And if you take a liter or 2 liters, then you just increase, maybe a minute, minute and a half.
Sorry,
And you
let me pause you there. You said
okay.
15 minutes for one glass of water. It's 15
15
seconds, right?
seconds. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry. 15 seconds. 15 seconds. And then for larger quantities of water, up to a minute, minute 15. That's basically it. When you do that, water is in coherent state. And as I mentioned, it will stay in that state virtually forever. So the only thing that you have to do is do that. You need to take care of your analemma because, as I mentioned, it's very fragile crystal vial with mother water inside. But what's lovely, if you don't break it, if you take care of it, it will create coherent water for life. But it's very fragile, so you mustn't drop. I dropped mine once and I was bummed because you really like it, you love it, so you don't want it kind of, even though I have them plenty, but still, I was kind of bummed.
Yeah.
Because you just need to kind of care for it, and that's basically it. That's
Yeah.
basically it.
I've been using it at my house for about a month, and I sort of pride myself in my interoception. Like I know what's
Mm.
going on in my body. I know how I slept last night. I know what's going on in my gut and my circulation and inflammation. As a biohacker, kind of guy, like I'm very body aware. I've spent a lot of time meditation. Like I know kind of where I'm at, and so uh, based on the studies and the time frames in which you did the tests with the twins and the glycan age and understanding the timelines at which people are consuming, I think it was a liter of water every day for a month or 3 months.
Yeah.
And so I've been using it now for a month, and what I notice is that I feel a little bit of a cooling happening in my gut. Like moments after, when you drink a big glass of water, big giant mason jar full of water like this, moments as it goes down into my body, I can actually feel a lowering of inflammation, a a cooling is just the best way to describe it, a cooling happening in my gut that's like soothing and calming and focused. And I asked my kids about it. I had them drink some tap water, and then I had them try the analemma water. And I said, do you notice any difference? And the first thing that they said, well, this stuff tastes like chlorine, this smells and tastes like a pool. This doesn't have really any flavor at all. But they noticed the viscosity of it. They noticed that
Mm.
it was smoother, that it was softer. And they didn't mention anything about how their bodies felt, but they could tell the difference between tap water and analemma water in its viscosity. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about how people report the sort of change or the difference in the water that they drink?
Well, it's interesting, people who have in some way or form, let's say, compromised health a little bit, there are people who had immediate positive effects with it. People who are healthy, uh, if they're conscious, just like you are, will immediately sense the difference. If they're not as conscious, they are not going to see, at least that's my experience with people, they are not going to immediately, okay, there is a huge difference in the way I feel. That's why we're investing so much, if people aren't as conscious, we're investing so much in science so that they know that they are actually getting extraordinary long-term health results, even if they're drinking it for a week and then they don't sense it. But I'm telling you one thing, just like you mentioned, there is not a single person that can't tell the difference between analemma water and regular water.
Mm.
Something happens. Something happens there and it's immediate. Regular water has electric potential, let's call it that way, between 150 and 300 millivolts. When you swirl the analemma through the water, it jumps immediately by 300%, which is, I'm telling you, also extraordinary. We're doing now, there is a whole energy aspect of this water, which is out of this world, but let's not go there. That will be that's a whole nother thing we're developing. But yeah, that's for some other podcast. It's because it's not kind of related to this. But just like you mentioned, this twin study that we did, genetically identical twin study with brainwaves. So this is something extraordinary to observe. Is it was double blind, so the doctor administered the water, didn't know which one was which, and twins didn't know. But we looked everything in real time. We watched their brainwaves. And as soon as the twin drinking our water took a sip of the water, there was an instant improvement in the connection between the left and the right hemisphere of the brain, and a cooling effect on the brain waves. And then after a while, a week later or something, we changed to the other twin, and then we had the same result, the other, but with the other twin. So this is something which is, again, very, very, very visual.
Yeah.
And it's there, and that's because as I mentioned, water is a broadband absorber, receiver, and transmitter of energy. So this is a frequency thing, and brain waves are brain waves. This is frequency, and there is an instant effect on your brain waves when you drink this water.
Like literally have a sip and the effect happens.
Yes.
I mean, how is that explained? Today's episode is brought to you by BioPro Plus. I love this stuff. It has made a major change in my life, in my metabolism, in my mood, in my ability to put on lean muscle mass and feel as powerful as I want to feel. BioPro Plus is the faster, easier, and safer non-synthetic alternative to painful, expensive, and invasive anti-aging and hormone treatments. Before you do TRT, before you start taking a bunch of herbs that may not make you feel the way that you want to feel, you should try this. You can go to bioproteintech.com and use the code OPP for $30 off. You know that a sponsor is a hit when people who have purchased it reach out to me and say, holy cow, Sean, I tried this and it's amazing. It's blowing my mind. It makes me better at everything that I do. I love having sponsors like this that really make a difference in people's lives. And this product it's absolutely incredible. It's growth factors and amino acids that will help you improve your hormones, become better at everything that you want to do. So go to bioproteintech.com and use the code OPP for $30 off. Is the idea, now let me see if I've got this right, is the idea that you're now drinking coherent water, and because our body is 99%, our molecules are 99% water, that as soon as you drink it, the coherent water that's back to life gets into your lips, your tongue, your throat, the soft tissues in your head and in your neck as you swallow. And does that then transmit to all of the other sort of water molecules in our body to have that measured effect right away?
I believe, well, now we're entering a bit into, again, I'm not going to call it esoteric because it's not, it's very scientific, but we're talking about, quantum physics. In quantum physics, now it's clear that it's not matter that it's building block of everything. It's the information and the energy. And information and the energy in quantum field exist in the now. It doesn't exist in time. So whatever is energy, frequency, and information, it actually acts now. Our body needs some time to process it. That's why with the glycanage, it takes, a glycanage will tell you it takes 3 months for glycans to change. That's why we said, okay, let's do the minimum of 3 months study. Your body needs time to kind of process all of the information, but brainwaves, that happens instantly. That's why there is extraordinary effect when people drink this water on entire biology, and that effect is long-term. But with brainwaves, it's instant. Incredible. And we tested it, actually, we tested it with people with cell phone radiation. So people were using their phones, and this is not a lot of people are aware, but there is an instant effect on your brain waves when you use this cell phone. So there weren't too much studies. We were actually one of the pioneers that saw that using the cell phone creates havoc in your brain waves. So we then gave people a regular water and our water, and people drinking our water had an instant, again, cooling effect on the brain waves. Whatever kind of went off came back to normal, and the person drinking regular water, that didn't happen. So we proved that this water protects you from the negative effects of electromagnetic radiation.
How is this similar or different from other water structuring devices? You know, I understand that based on the studies that the other devices that are structuring the water, maybe it's doing this. You can maybe tell me if it's doing the same thing or something similar. Is structured specifically coherent. But you mentioned that the analemma water stays coherent. But I'm curious, for people who are listeners of this podcast who are interested or are familiar with water structuring devices that cost, $6,000 to, I know that they're not cheap. What is the difference or similarity to those devices?
Well, there are, as I mentioned already, there are companies and devices which create their, either through vortexing or crystals, or through using electricity, magnets. There are ways to bring water to some form of structure. But as I mentioned, the main difference is stability. It just doesn't go back to chaos. So when you drink it, it stays in that particular place. That I would say is the most powerful difference between any other water and our water. When we actually, in all our tests, it was very, 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 very consistent.
So there are larger, more expensive, more elaborate devices that do something similar, but the analemma water stays coherent versus some of the others lose their coherence at a minute or 15.
And not only that, I can tell you one thing. In our experience, not a lot of company invested even very, very small percentage in the studies we actually did. So we are proving it study by study. We're proving the effect and the stability of it. That's exactly like you can say that water is in a coherent state, but you need a study to definitively prove its effect. Otherwise, it's just you say that it's something, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I'm not just going, and I cannot, and I don't want to even to say anything, because I can't say negative. This is it does create structure. We've seen it, but it's kind of a short term. The water goes back into chaos. So that's I would say that's the only but very powerful difference between those devices. We actually intentionally wanted to keep the price of analemma very affordable, not to go for, because we kind of wanted to keep it available to basically anyone. And that's why I'm saying you buy it once and it will create coherent water for you for life.
Do you use structured water and coherent water interchangeably?
You mean as a term?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
But let's say that why we're calling, we used various kind of terms because we wanted to emphasize the power and the difference. So we called it full spectrum coherent water because it actually does, just like this seed experiment biophoton showed, it really collects the optimum information. So biological system really comes into harmony with energetic processes around it. We actually say And we know that Mother Earth is the hidden voice of this project. When you drink this water, the planet is changing electromagnetically every single day, and it's moving. And due to all the EMFs and the bad water, bad food, all of the influences, people are now cut off from the source of life. And this is a way to open pathways to restore the communication system back to its original place, where you're one with the earth. You're actually one with the universe. All the changes that happen, you're actually flowing with them. That's why we call it conscious water. It makes you conscious on the electromagnetic level, in tune.
It makes sense to me. It does make sense to me because, you know, we've talked about this on this podcast before about, you know, how to ground down, how to reset your body a bit. You know, after you're flying, as soon as you get off and reach your destination, you should get your shoes off as fast as possible and go walk barefoot to kind of ground down and get more in tune with the frequencies and vibrations of the planet. And this seems like the same thing. It's like you're drinking this coherent water, you're this fundamental syncing with the really the foundation of life itself, which is water. And so it makes sense to me. I'm kind of curious about the business structure because, you know, you've mentioned all of the research and, you know, the access to Fritz Pop's lab and this, you know, the studies that you're doing. And I'm just sort of curious, like what makes the company so different from other wellness or water wellness companies? Like how is it that you are able to do all of this? Like,
well, you know, this is also very interesting, you know, the whole synchronistic thing about it. My background, you know, I owned a natural pharmaceutical company for years and really treated a lot of people and a lot of people were kind of really gotten better and healthy. And I was really excited and passionate about health for many years. So after a while, I sold the company to Walgreens. And then I was kind of thinking, okay, if I'm ever going to do anything again, I really want something which is for the highest good of all, which really helps the planet and everything. It really needs to be something like that. And then NLM project came about. And every single person, I can tell you, every single person within our company is purpose oriented. We're not money oriented. As I mentioned, we're serving this water. It's not the other way around. So from that perspective, it's not, and then I believe if you are pure in that way, if you are committed to it in a right way, then everything happens by itself. Because there is something much bigger than you that works through you and supports you. So it's not like me separated from the entirety of Mother Earth and everything that happens in the universe, but me serving it, me being in service to the highest good of everything. All of us in our company are like that. So we're not about kind of, you know, money kind of thing or whatever. Money is awesome, you know, and we all need it, but it's not about that. And if we would all kind of, I always ask myself, if I'm considering any project, is it good for the Mother Earth? That's number one. If it is, then I go to the number two question. Is it good for everybody involved, including myself? And if those two are, you know, covered, then I go in. Because then there are no downsides. It's a win. It's a win for everybody. It's a win for planet. It's a win.
Yeah.
And I believe that then the universe supports it.
I'm with you. I agree. I agree. It's this idea of I, we, all. Am I doing right by myself? Am I doing right by my community, my family, my church group, my school my kids go to? And in so that that extends out to the universe. Is this
Yes.
the all? Like, am I doing things? That's why we're talking right now. Is I want to do things that are I'm learning right now. I'm sharing this with my community, and then above and beyond that, like this lights people up. And in 94 countries, wherever you're listening right now, whether you're in the UK or Ghana, listening to this podcast episode, something's clicking on. Was all of the water coherent on this planet at one time, and then stuff happens that makes it chemically and energetically polluted, and now there's this process of bringing it back into coherence? Like, I'm trying to wrap my brain around this idea.
It's
Like,
it's actually very, very fair and awesome question. It really is. That's why we kind of go back to the Mother Earth and the whole intelligence of it. So before, if you say like let's say 100, 200, 300 years, all the water was actually pure. So people could go to rivers and lakes and go to streams, and there was always this left and right vortexes. So the water knows its way, knows how to be in coherence. And people were drinking that water from there. But now, given where we are, all of the environmental chaos that's happening, EMFs everywhere, and people living in buildings and rectangular pipes going all over, and not being aware of the sacredness of water. We're not treating it with respect. We're not treating it with reverence that we need to treat it with reverence, and then all this reverence will become us. So we believe that it was time that Mother Earth came with a solution which will help the people now. Since water is completely out of whack, there was a solution needed to treat the water and bring it back into coherence, which people need at this point in time, like very, very, very much. So we feel that Mother Earth brought this project through us at this very particular time because it was necessary. Before, it wasn't. Just like you mentioned, water was in coherent state. If you came to the river, you just drank from it. And it was there. And there wasn't even need for longer coherence. Now it's essential because we are bombarded with EMFs all over the place. So we need something which is really, really, really stable to resist all of those negative influences. I'm just sharing how we see it, what is our intuitive understanding of it.
mm-hmm.
So we don't feel like we own it. You cannot own this water. It's the intelligence of Mother Earth, the universe, and it just was brought through us. That's why we feel that we're stewards of this water, not its owners by any way. That's why it feels as you can only be humble, especially when we see all those results happening. Like, it's not like we own it. No, you want to take care of it. You want to bring it to the world. You want it. That's why I'm saying reverence. And knowing this, it's so amazing. Knowing this and knowing that we are water, then you intuitively become reverent towards people because you know that whatever you give out, it will stay there. It becomes a responsibility even.
Yeah.
You cannot be careless about it. You understand at a deeper level, conscious level, that whatever you put out has an influence.
Yeah.
So do I want it to have a positive influence? or do I want to have a negative one? And I believe that every single person, if they become conscious enough, it becomes even a choiceless thing. You just, you don't want to behave in any other way.
Yeah, you do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What a beautiful concept too. I want to unpack a little bit further on how this can affect different types of applications. So we're talking about, the barren soil that where things wouldn't grow, and then, watering it with water, and then watering it with or chaotic water, and then watering it with analema water. And then I'm thinking about um the tap water that all of us most of us drink, which is, again, treated and has fluoride in it, etc. And so I'm curious about, for someone who can afford a reverse osmosis remineralization setup in their home, or for someone who can't go drive like I do to get 30 gallons of water, primary water, from a local spring, and then, treat it with analema. I'm curious about what what is the highest potential for that that treated water, which is recycled toilet water that's treated with coagulants and pharmaceuticals and fluoride and all this stuff. Like, obviously the analema will bring structure and coherence back to the water, but it's not going to pull out, it's not going to filter out, like, the pharmaceuticals, the birth control that my neighbor flushed, a month ago. I'm just sort of curious, because, and it's all just like that. It's not going to pull out the glyphosate that's in the soil that's been depleted. And so I guess I'm curious about, if it's not like actually filtering it, it's maybe just like, do you see where I'm going with this? It's like,
Yeah. We are very much aware of it. And just so you know, we're developing now several systems. So just so you know, various applications. The first one we're going to be coming out is the whole house analema. So that's number one. So you just install it in the piping system of your house, and all of the water inside your house will be coherent. We're developing a system which will purify the water from all of the pollutants that you mentioned and bring it into coherent state. So this is going to be a flagship model. And we're really working very hard on it so that we can provide to people whatever they want or need or can afford. We're actually developing quote unquote Brita system, where you just kind of put the tap water inside. It will purify, and we're working very hard on those filters. So they really kind of take out as much as humanly possible from that water, and it brings it into coherent state. So we're going to offer all of that. We're developing all of those systems so that we have the maximum output. But a lot of people, the first product, this analema, will eventually become travel analema,
mm,
something that you travel with, and it will bring into coherent state all of the water that you drink. But for home use, you could have this Brita system or this whole house and complete purification plus making it coherent.
mm,
But for now, we just wanted to come out with what we had at the moment
yeah.
so that people can immediately have the result. And I'm using for years now this device and all of us before we start to come out with everything else. And you can actually bring into coherent state whatever drink that you're using. You can make your beer coherent, or water, or wine coherent. So if it has H2O molecules, it will form a liquid crystalline structure. So
Ah,
any beverage that you drink, you will have the benefit of coherence inside.
I like that. I hadn't even thought about that. I had some wine last night, and didn't even cross my mind to use the analabel wand in there. So now maybe let's talk a little bit about the potential of this, because you
Mm,
did tease it a little bit earlier
mm,
about the fact that the goal includes bringing coherence back to the planet and all its water sources. And what
yes.
I envision is some sort of massive uh building sized, crystalline tube that has 1,000 gallons, 100,000 gallons of mother water in it, and set up, at a high at a dam. I live in the Pacific Northwest. There's tons of dams on rivers. That's kind of where my mind goes. And I know that you've thought about this. So
Yes.
let's say downstream of that, so to speak,